Hey boys and girls, today for our lesson with Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, we are actually not going to read a chapter. We're going to take some notes and talk through some things with our story structure. So I'm going to give you just a second. If you don't have paper and pencil in front of you, I want you to go grab that right now. You won't need much today, but we're going to take down just a few notes from our discussion today. So why don't you go grab a piece of notebook paper and a pencil of any kind. If you were in the scavenger hunt last Friday, I know you're pretty quick with finding stuff, so we'll start here in just a second. Okay, if you don't have it yet and you can just listen to me talk, and remember, you can always replay the video on my YouTube channel. I have 8 subscribers now, so I'm super excited about that. So today what we're going to talk about, what I want the title of your notes to be, and I've got it written here on my paper, you can't see it very well, is Hero's Journey. Hero's Journey. Okay, so the type of story that we are reading right now is actually part of a structure, a certain structure. And all Hero's Journey stories follow this structure and pattern. And all of the main characters go through a certain cycle of things within this story. So I'm going to be giving lots of examples today from movies and books that you're familiar with to kind of help you recognize what steps these heroes are going through. So the heroes in our story for Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe would be the 4 children. So we've got Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. And during this journey, they will go through different stages and experience different things. So today we're going to talk through the 9 stages. So on your paper, I want you to write down 1 through 9, and we're going to go through all of the steps of these 9 steps of this hero's journey story. Okay, the very first one, so number 1, what I want you to write on your paper is unusual birth. Unusual birth. So in our story, this happens a little differently. We don't see the children necessarily being born, but what we see them being raised in a different home than what they were originally from. Okay, so if you remember me talking about that, that'll be an easy one for you. So some examples of this would be like Harry Potter. He was raised with his aunt and uncle. When he was a baby, his parents were killed by this evil wizard during this big battle. Think about the Wizard of Oz. Dorothy was not raised by her parents. She was raised by her Aunt Em and her uncle. Okay, so that's number 1, unusual birth. Number 2 is call to adventure. Call to adventure. This is where the heroes kind of begin their journey, and it can happen in a number of different ways. Something major happens in their life. A hero can be called to leave their home, and sometimes this happens by accident. So this would be, some examples of this would definitely be in Harry Potter when Harry is sent a letter in the mail to go to Hogwarts. In the Hunger Games, when Katniss Everdeen volunteers as tribute to take her sister's place in this arena where she may come back or not. So this call to adventure can happen several different ways. The third thing, and I've mentioned this on as I've been reading our book the last couple weeks, the third step is called crossing the threshold. Crossing the threshold. And this is the point where the heroes leave what's familiar to them and they cross over into a different world or unknown, something unknown to them. So this would be like in Harry Potter when he crosses over and goes through the platform 9 3/4 and crosses into the magical realm. In Wizard of Oz, this is when Dorothy steps out of the swirling house and walks out onto the yellow brick road. If you're familiar with the Lord of the Rings series, The Hobbit, when Frodo leaves his home to go on this epic journey with his 3 other friends. Okay, so leaving what's familiar and then entering somewhere that's not as familiar to them. The fourth thing that happens in these stories is that they are introduced to some sort of supernatural helpers. And this can come in the form of a power, of a person, but it's usually someone who guides our hero through their journey. So, examples that I have for you would be like in the movie Aladdin, the genie. He's a supernatural helper. He helps Aladdin with these wishes and helps perpetuate him through his journey. If you've ever seen the movie Mulan, Mulan is an excellent example of hero's journey. And she has her little dragon, I think his name is Mushu, if I'm correct. And then she has her ancestors who come back as ghosts and help guide her through her journey. Okay, so that is called supernatural helpers. The next step is every story that is a hero's journey, they have some sort of special weapon that they're equipped with. Now, a hero is often given this weapon, sometimes by their supernatural helper, sometimes it just comes to them. So this would be like Dorothy's slippers. This would be like Harry Potter's wand. This would be like in, if you're familiar with the Star Wars series, this would be like the lightsabers that the characters use. And if you've seen the new Star Wars movie, you've seen how the lightsaber kind of comes to the character Rey. So anything that is special that comes to these characters that helps them through their journey or is key on their journey. The next step is trials. So this is a series of things the hero has to go through where they learn a lot and they kind of succeed, but they almost stumble through them in a way. So one awesome example of this that I really like is the Disney movie Hercules. That's an example of a hero's journey. So in that, Hercules has to fight all these different little battles and prove that he is a strong hero before he's kind of taken seriously. So think about Harry Potter again. The whole series of Harry Potter, he has lots of different challenges and trials as he's going through from beginning to end. Okay. One of my favorite ones from The Wizard of Oz is when Dorothy is in the field of poppies. And if you've seen the movie or read the book, it makes her sleepy. So she has to overcome that to get to her next step in her journey. I like that one a lot. Next, we have the achievement of goals. So after our heroes go through all of these trials, all of these hard things that they have to conquer, they achieve something. And it could be a conceptual task, so something that they have thought in their mind where they want to reach. It could be an actual goal or trophy. So like in The Lord of the Rings, it could be the destruction of the ring. It could be Dorothy returning home. So it's when the hero kind of achieves what they've been working towards on this journey. Some other examples of this would be in The Wizard of Oz, where at the end of the story, where like the lion gets his courage and the scarecrow gets his brain and the Tin Man gets his heart. The next step in our hero's journey, it's kind of an optional step. It happens in most of them, but some stories decide to leave this step out. This is called atonement with father figure. Atonement with father figure. Okay, so this is where the father figure that the character maybe was trying to prove something to in the story at one point, or the character is longing for that relationship with their father figure, this is where they are reunited. And a great example of that is in the story Finding Nemo. So in the story Finding Nemo, we know that in the beginning Nemo is lost and his father goes on this whole big journey to try to get him back. And at the very end, they come together. Okay, Star Wars people, I don't want to give too much away, but in the original Star Wars movies, Luke has a meeting with his father after this big question of where does he belong and who is he. In the movie Mulan, her whole journey begins with wanting to make her family proud, and especially her father. And at the very end, she is so worried that he is not going to be proud of her because of what she's done, breaking all these traditions. But she has that moment with him where they have an understanding of why she did that. And our very last, our very last stage of hero's journey is called Returning Home. So this is where the character will leave behind the fantasy world that they've been in, or like I said, crossing the threshold, going somewhere unknown, and then returning to what's familiar to them. Sometimes they return willingly, sometimes they return unwillingly. Other times they are kind of sent back because they've completed their mission. So Katniss Everdeen, for example, she is sent back home after she completes the Hunger Games. I won't give too much away there. So at this time in the story, the hero brings new wisdom or important values back to the community or back to their family units to change something. And through this journey, the hero always grows in some way. So although this story that we're going to read, we kind of know how it's going to end, essentially, if we're following this hero's journey pattern, the one thing we really want to focus on is growth of the characters. Okay, so what are the characters like now, and how are they going to grow through this journey, through the trials, through learning how to use their special weapon, through the advice of their supernatural helpers. So what I would like for you to do today for your assignment, and I'm going to have you try this, I'm going to have you comment on this video. I would like you to write down the first 3 stages of hero's journey, which are unusual birth, call to adventure, and crossing the threshold. I want you to write 1, 2, 3 in the comment section, and then I would like you to write what has happened in our story, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, that shows an unusual birth. What was their call to adventure? And then lastly, what was them crossing the threshold? How did they get into the world of Narnia? Okay, so we're going to try this today. If for some reason the comments aren't working, please email me and let me know, and I will make other arrangements for you. But I enjoyed our little conversation today, and I look forward to starting back with our next chapter tomorrow, where we will learn about some supernatural helpers. Have a great day.